concerning bad habits and the way a man must break free of them. I have long observed that men are governed no less by their habits than princes are governed by their states. And just as all states are either republics or principalities, so all habits are either old and hereditary, long-rooted in the blood and custom of a man, or new and acquired by fortune or by his own actions. Hereditary habits are the easier to maintain, for a man needs only to follow the path his youth has worn for him, and ordinary diligence will suffice. Yet when he seeks to cast them off, he finds them harder to uproot than any foreign invader, because the memory of ease and the comfort of repetition bind him more firmly than any law or army. New habits, by contrast, whether born of sudden prosperity, idleness, or the flattering persuasion of companions, bring endless troubles. A man changes his ways hoping for better, yet quickly feels the weight of new restraints, new denials, and new discomforts. Those parts of himself that once profited from the old habit become his immediate enemies. Those that hope for improvement soon grow resentful when the promised ease does not arrive. Thus it is with every vice, whether sloth, gluttony, prodigality, or the habit of easy anger. The man who would become master of himself must study how each habit was acquired before he attempts to seize or destroy it, lest fortune or his own weakness undo him at the first test. I say that the breaking of bad habits is like the acquisition of a new principality, and therefore the most difficult and most glorious enterprise a man can undertake. The innovator faces enemies among all the pleasures and excuses that profited from the old order, and he finds only lukewarm friends among those parts of himself that hope to profit from the new. Men resist change because they distrust what they have not tested. Success demands force, swift punishment of every lapse, and the complete destruction of every rival pleasure that might restore the past. Yet once the founder has overcome these obstacles, his new state of discipline rests upon a firm foundation. I therefore praise those men who rely on their own virtue rather than fortune, for what they build endures. Fortune may give a man a moment of resolve, but only ability keeps it. Those who attempt to break free by the aid of others or by mere good fortune face a different fate. They enter upon self-mastery without roots. They owe everything to some external spur or fleeting mood. When that spur fades or fortune turns against them, they possess neither the strength nor the loyalty to stand alone. A wise man in this position must act at once, eliminate every temptation at a single stroke, arm himself with strict rules, win the support of his better nature, and lay foundations that do not depend upon companions or circumstances. Delay invites ruin. He who builds quickly upon fortune's gift may yet make it his own. He who trusts fortune alone will lose everything when she changes. Thus I counsel speed, ruthlessness, and self-reliance, the moment resolve places the crown of discipline upon his head. Bad habits gained through weakness require special handling. A man who lets a vice take power by a slow surrender must commit all his acts of denial at once, swiftly and completely, so that the mind grows accustomed to them and forgets the old ease. Benefits, rest, satisfaction, pride, should follow gradually, so that they are savored. Denial used well is done once and for the man's future safety. Denial used badly is repeated and breeds resentment. A man who follows this rule can secure his inner state. One who hesitates or spreads restraint piecemeal will never rest. I do not praise unnecessary hardship, yet I say that when necessity forces such a path, it must be traveled with precision and without remorse, for half measures destroy both the man and the hope of mastery. A civil habit of virtue arises when a leading part of a man's nature becomes prince by the favor of his reason rather than by force or lack. Such self-rule is more secure when founded on the whole character than on one faculty alone, for reason seeks only not to be oppressed while the appetites seek to oppress. A man who rests upon reason can always summon his will in time of temptation, whereas one who rests upon fleeting emotion must fear himself even in calm. Therefore, I advise winning the goodwill of one's better nature above all. It is the only sure shield when all cravings turn hostile. Appetites are changeable. The rational part, once satisfied, remains loyal. A man's true strength is measured by whether he can stand alone against his own desires, or must always beg aid from external rules or companions. He who possesses his own discipline, fortified resolutions, and loyal habits can withstand any assault. He should keep his mind content, protect his long-term interests, and turn every temptation to his advantage by showing that he alone can defend himself. A man who lacks these resources will collapse at the first storm. Thus I counsel every man to build his own forces and fortifications while peace lasts, for reliance on diets, friends, or devices is a chain that fortune may break at any moment. I divide the means of self-rule into three kinds: mercenaries, external aids such as bows or gadgets; auxiliaries, borrowed strength from others; and one's own troops, native discipline raised from within. Mercenaries are useless and dangerous, costing much in vigilance and fleeing in the hour of need. Auxiliaries bring the same perils plus the risk of foreign domination over one's will. Only a man's own troops, graced from his reason and daily practice, fight with true commitment. He who relies on foreign arms will never be secure. Therefore, every wise man must dismiss all auxiliaries and mercenaries at the earliest moment and raise discipline from his own nature. Only native forces, bound by shared interest and habit, will fight to the end. Self-reliance in the war against vice is the first mark of a strong character. Dependence upon others is the certain road to servitude. A man must make the art of self-mastery his sole study and occupation. In times of ease, he should train mind and body for the battle against temptation, study his own terrain of weaknesses, organize daily drills of restraint, and read the deeds of those who have conquered themselves. The struggle against habit is the only profession that preserves a man's liberty. Neglect of it causes loss of both freedom and honor. He who knows nothing of this inner war cannot command respect from his own faculties or fear from his desires. I counsel every man to live as a warrior even when no vice threatens, for fortune favors the prepared. Idleness in these matters breeds contempt. Constant preparation breeds victory. Men praise certain virtues in themselves and blame certain vices, yet a man who wishes to survive his own nature cannot always practice the praised qualities. Liberality toward appetites, mercy toward weaknesses, and faith in easy promises are lauded, but they can ruin a man if carried to excess. I therefore say a man must appear to possess every virtue, while being ready to abandon any when necessity demands. He should avoid vices that destroy his power, yet embrace those that preserve it. Reputation matters, but survival matters more. The wise man adapts his conduct to the times and to the needs of his soul, for rigid goodness invites ruin, while flexible prudence secures the throne of self-rule. It is far safer to be feared by one's own desires than loved by them, for love is held by a slender thread of pleasure that breaks when interest pulls the other way, while fear is fastened by dread of consequences that never loosens. A man must avoid self-hatred above all, yet he may use severity when it serves his future good. Swift, necessary denial wins respect. Prolonged or pointless torment breeds revolt. I therefore advise that a man inspire fear in his appetites without hatred, for they will obey one they fear more readily than one they merely love. Mercy misused invites disorder. Calculated severity maintains order. A man must learn to break his word to himself when keeping it would harm him, and when the reasons for the promise have vanished. Habits are wicked and will not keep faith with you. Therefore, you need not keep faith with them. Yet a man should appear temperate, faithful, humane, upright, and religious to his own mind, For men judge by appearances, and few see what you truly are. The end justifies the means. Success excuses any breach. I counsel flexibility above all. The lion cannot escape traps, nor the fox fight wolves. But he who is both lion and fox endures. A man must avoid being despised or hated by himself. Contempt comes from fickleness, frivolity, or cowardice. Hatred from injury to his own long-term good. He who is esteemed by his own reason need fear no internal conspiracies, for the better part of him will not rise against one it respects. Discipline and self-goodwill together form the strongest defense. I therefore urge every man to cultivate a reputation for strength, constancy, and justice while guarding his own future peace. Esteem prevents lapses, hatred invites them. A man who is both feared and respected walks secure amid any storm of temptation. Fortresses of routine are useful or harmful according to circumstance. They help a man who fears his own weakness more than external lures. Yet they become useless or dangerous if he hates the restraint. A man who arms his better nature and wins its love needs no fortress. One who disarms himself and breeds inner hatred will find every rule a prison. I counsel weighing self-sentiment before building. Better to be loved by one's reason and mobile than hated and enclosed. Fortifications without loyalty are mere stone. Loyalty without fortifications is true strength. Fortune governs half our actions, yet leaves the other half to our own control. She resembles a raging river that floods when unchecked, but can be tamed by embankments built in calm times. A man who adapts his conduct to the times prospers. One who clings to old ways perishes when circumstances change. Boldness often conquers fortune where caution fails, for she favors the young and the daring. I counsel every man to study the times and strike when opportunity appears, for fortune yields to those who seize her rather than wait passively for her gifts. This is how The Prince, by Niccolò Machiavelli, directly applies to the subject of breaking free of bad habits. Just as I counseled that a new principality acquired by one's own arms and ability is difficult yet glorious to hold, so the conquest of one's vices tests whether a man possesses true virtue or merely the temporary favor of a passing mood. The same laws govern the inner state and the outer realm. Half measures invite endless war. Reliance on fortune alone leads to ruin, and only the man who arms himself, acts decisively, and adapts without illusion can hope to rule himself as a prince rules his state. Thus does the counsel of the prince illuminate every man's private endeavor. Mastery belongs not to the gentle or the merciful by nature, but to him who bends necessity to his will.